I think a lot about that thing that people say often, that all they want is to be happy. And I've been thinking about this for a long time. I've been thinking about the nature of desire, I guess, and how it changes. There's that Sandman quote that I think I've talked about before in another video, but it left a really big impact on me whenever I think it's Morpheus watching one of Shakespeare's plays, and he says something to the extent that the problem with getting what you want is that you get what you once wanted. And that's the fundamental issue with desire, is that you get what you want and then you don't really want it anymore. You don't appreciate it anymore, and you just want the next thing. Everything you have now is something that you once wanted. And so because of that, and because of the fact that your old desires have now become commonplace, you may not appreciate them as much as you once did whenever you first attained them. And the reason I bring this up within the context of happiness is because I think that our happiness is largely determined by what we want. And not just what we want, but it's determined by how we appreciate or do not appreciate those things around us. And going back to that thing that people say that all they want is to be happy, I think that there's a component of it that is overlooked. I think there's a component of happiness that is overlooked. And I don't think that it's necessarily a good thing. I'll see how precisely I can explain this, but I think that one problem with wanting to be happy is that oftentimes there's a lot of sadness and depression and struggle involved to get there. What I mean to say is that whenever you're a kid, you're told that you can have anything, which of course is a lie. That's not really that true. My mind's going back to the quote that you can be anything, but you can't be everything. But I think one component of happiness is acceptance of your situation, acceptance of the way that things are in your life, and acceptance of what you can have and what you can't. I think this is what people talk about whenever they refer to appreciating the little things. People may want $1 billion, but they know they can't have it, and so because of that, they try to appreciate like a nice homemade dinner or something. They try to appreciate a nice date with someone they love. They try to appreciate playing with a pet or going to a movie, even if it's not perfect or something like that. But I think in all these scenarios and all these situations, there is a sort of death that's involved, and it's a kind of death of desire, right? If you know that you can have something more than what you currently have, then you're not going to be satisfied. A mundane example of this is that if a thermostat is 2 degrees higher than you would like it to be, but you have the power to change it, then you will not appreciate the fact that you live in a temperature-controlled environment unless you adjust it and make it right exactly as you want it to be. If you want the same thing from a romantic angle, then you won't be satisfied with your current partner if you think you can do better. Or if you want a career angle, you're not going to be satisfied with your career completely 100% if you know that you're not where you could be. And so I think oftentimes what happens is that people settle, and I think that settling is looked down upon, and quite frankly I think that there are times when it's fair to look down upon settling. No one wants to settle. No one wants to have to settle for second best. Everyone wants to be on top, and quite frankly, I think there's a difference between accepting something as the best you can have right now and then just full on going for something that is much lower than you. There are too many people I know who have degrees who are working jobs that pay near minimum wage, and I just think they could be doing a lot more. You know, but then people will often say, well, if it makes them happy. But the thing is that, where does that happiness come from? Does that happiness come from them truly enjoying their position in life? Or does it come from them thinking that this is the best they can do when realistically they can do better? And I'm thinking of very specific examples whenever I bring this up. Or I used to work with a girl who had a boyfriend who lived far away from her, and he was constantly cheating on her. And it wasn't like a one-time thing, it was like a constant thing. Like every couple of weeks she would come into work really sad and upset because he cheated on her yet again. And sometimes she wasn't happy, but sometimes she was. And then this begs the question, was she happy because she genuinely enjoyed the experience of having a boyfriend who could not be trusted, who wasn't faithful, or because she thought that was the best she could do? And so I think that is kind of a lesser depressing path to happiness. That's one way to become happy, basically, is by giving up almost, by settling. And again, throughout this, I don't mean to like sound condescending or look down upon people or whatever else. I'm thinking of that scripture, that thing that Jesus said about how judge not lest ye be judged in the same way or with the same measure, something to that extent. And so I'm not trying to judge people or anything like that, but just from an observational standpoint, it really feels to me like that is the path that most people take to happiness. It's a sort of depressing path because there's a lot of loss involved. There is a such thing as appreciating immediately what's in front of you, but there is also such a thing as giving up on all your hopes and your dreams and your ambitions and anything good. There is such a thing as forgetting it all in favor of the immediate. But there's also a better path to happiness. I think this second path to happiness is more direct in some ways. I think it's more difficult for sure, but I don't think that it involves loss to the same extent as the first path. And so I think the second path to happiness involves getting what you want in some ways. Becoming who you want to be is another way to phrase it. I think that there's very much such a thing as growing and changing and evolving to get to the place that you want to be. I mean, I think there are two kinds of people, right? There are the people who look at a mountain and who go, man, that's a really big mountain, I won't be able to climb it. And then there are the second group of people who look at a mountain and go, wow, you know, it's a really big mountain, but I'm going to try my best to climb it. There are the people who look at challenges and trials and who give up before even beginning them. There are the people who don't even try to face challenges. And then there's the second group of people who will go up against the challenges and who will strengthen themselves and become better and become the best versions of themselves possible. And the thing is that if you fall into the second group, you don't always succeed. There are challenges that you simply cannot overcome. There are certain problems and issues that all of us have that are just too big for us to deal with in our present state. But I think more often than not, I think you will benefit from attempting the challenge at the very least. And this is always what I come back to, that even if you can't complete the challenge, then I think that if you attack a challenge, I think that if you go for something, if you go for the things that you want, if you go after the things you want in life, then I think you'll get closer to them than you might initially expect. I think that if you set lofty goals for yourself and try to chase them, then I think you will accomplish more than you would have any other way. Even if you don't meet your goals 100% of the time, I think that you will still be in a better place by setting the goals and failing than never setting them at all. And so really, I think that is the second path to happiness. If you want something, go and get it, essentially. If you think that you can do better than your current romantic partner, then, you know, set them free, essentially. If you think you could do better than your current career or job, then go and prove it. And what I've found is that as I've tried to pursue this path, as I've tried to go after the things I want, then some of the regrets that I have disappear. I don't have any major, huge life regrets. There aren't any big, obvious moments in my life where I made a mistake. I've never killed anyone. I beat teenage pregnancy, as my sister would say. I don't have any more debt than the normal person, probably. I mean, especially considering student loan debt, which I think is a pretty normal thing. But looking back at things, I just remember when I first started this YouTube channel, there was this overwhelming feeling I had that I was screwing up by not uploading more often. Because if you look at the gaps between videos, the very first video I put up in March of 2021. I did my first real video, the Silent Hill 4 video one, in June 2021. And then 9 months passed before I did Dark Souls and the Death of God. And so definitely during that time, during that 9-month gap and after that 9-month gap, there was this overwhelming feeling that I had that I was screwing up by not uploading. Because I had this desire in me to make videos, and there were things I wanted to talk about, there were things I wanted to discuss, but at the same time I was going through school and I was struggling through some of the most difficult semesters I ever went through. But now that we are a few years removed from those points, one thing that I've noticed is that as I've made more videos and as I've covered more topics, I don't feel that sense of regret for not making videos during that period. I wasn't happy about my lack of productivity, or at least my lack of productivity in the YouTube space. I wasn't happy about that back then, but now that we're removed from it, and now that at this point, by the time this video goes up, I will probably have passed 100 videos on YouTube. Now that we're here, I don't feel all that bad about it. And especially since I've done so many of the things that I've wanted to, I just don't feel that same sense of shame or remorse. I don't feel that same sense of loss. And so for me, going back to the idea of contentment and acceptance and happiness, how those things intersect, I think that's one of the best things about my position right now with regards to video making, is that I'm able to accept the fact that there were periods when I didn't make videos consistently, but right now I'm making videos consistently, and so that's pretty cool. I'm sure this video won't go up till November, maybe December even. But right now I'm going through The Cure's discography. I just uploaded the Japanese Whispers video, and this is the sort of thing that I would have loved to do back in high school. And I was thinking about even this, about how I really wanted to make videos in high school, but I was deathly afraid of being on camera. I was horrified of putting my opinion out there. I was horrified of talking to people and being genuine. So it really is for me one of those things where if I went back in time and I showed my 16-year-old self what I've accomplished, then I think I would be pretty amazed. Number one, I would be pretty amazed that I was still alive. But that's kind of that's something else. But so many of the videos that I've made are about things that I loved back then, things that I loved back then in high school. You know, I read Batman comics in high school, and I read Spider-Man, and I played Silent Hill and Resident Evil, and I loved The Cure, and I loved Nine Inch Nails. And so there are videos I've done that are certainly ideas and whatnot that I've developed as I've gotten older, but there are also a lot of videos that really the seeds for them were planted back when I was, 16, 17, whatever. And I think for me, getting to this point just started with the very first videos. It just started with overcoming the fears of putting myself out there, or overcoming the fears isn't even right, because I was still deathly afraid of putting myself out there, and I still am oftentimes. Since I've made so many videos, it's not as scary as it once was. But I remember that even back then, even whenever I uploaded the Silent Hill 4 video, or whenever I uploaded Dark Souls and the Death of God, with that one in particular, I really thought that people would like jump on the name. I thought that people would accuse me of being like a cringe atheist or, something like that. Because I thought people would misinterpret Death of God, or someone would care, or, whatever. It's a Nietzsche reference, so who cares? But I think that as I've gotten older and as I've brought myself to do more of the things that have scared me, I think that I've gotten happier. And I've said this before in other videos, but I don't think I'm exactly happy now. I don't think my life is perfect by any measure, but I think that as I've chased after what I view to be happiness, as I've chased the second path to happiness, then I think things have gotten better. And I think that trying something and failing beats never trying any day of the week. And that's kind of been my opinion towards this entire YouTube experiment. Is I've just been like, well, if I try this and I fail, then at least I'll have something cool to show for it. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's really important to make the things that you like, or to engage with the people or the activities or whatever that you yourself enjoy. Because the fact of the matter is that not everyone's gonna like everything you do. Even if you try to please people, you're still not gonna please them 100% of the time. And so if you do something for other people and they don't like it and you don't like it either, then it's like, what's the point? And so that's kind of been my approach, is I have a really weird videography. No one in their right mind would make the videos that I've made. People who wanted to become big on YouTube would, just jump on trends or whatever. I feel like I've said this before, but I feel like if my channel were horror focused or just gaming focused or something, I think I would be bigger. I think it would be more popular. Or if I only focused on comics, if I only focused on like nerdy stuff, I could probably twist things that way. And so I think that that's one thing that's kind of hard for people to grasp about my channel. Especially, it's hard for me to grasp, because one day I'll be doing a serious comic book video essay, and then the next I'll be making a silly video about ghosts, and then I'll be reviewing one of my favorite albums from the 80s or something. And really, I intentionally named this channel Noah McAlister. I just called it my own name, because of the fact that I wanted to be free to do anything I wanted. And I'm fortunate enough to be in a position where people will watch my stuff. And I don't think it's the same people watching every single video. I think there are a few of you, and so thank you. But I think most people probably pick and choose which ones they want to watch. I'm sure certain people love all the goth music, and then other people like the creativity videos, and other people are only here for horror stuff, and that's cool. But I guess that in the end, all I'm really saying is that I think it's better to chase happiness. I think even if you don't achieve everything that you think will make you happy, then I think you'll still be better off in a lot of ways than if you just accepted or settled or whatever, if you just gave up and gave into your current position. So I don't know, this video has taken about half an hour to film, so I'm tired, I'm gonna go to bed. So thank you for watching. Let me know if you like me sitting down on a chair. I'm not really swaying because I can, but at the same time I feel like I'm being interrogated or interviewed or something like that, because I'm eye level with the camera. But thank you for watching, take care of yourselves, and have a nice night, so see ya.